Welcome to this podcast. I'm your host, Michelle B. Griffin. As an author, speaker, and certified personal brand and PR strategist, I'm here to empower and elevate you to get visible, build your personal brand, and own your lane as a visible brand authority and thought leader in your space. I'm super excited you're here. Now let's get going with today's show. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle B. Griffin, and today it's all about the mini book, and how to be a first-time author or a new author, really. If you've already written a book and you want to get something out there, we are talking about how to build your authority with a mini book, and I'm pleased to welcome to the show Gehan Haridy-A. Welcome, G.
Hi, everyone. Michelle, I'm thrilled to be here, and I am so psyched to talk about this topic.
G is a first-time author of a mini book. She's here to share her journey. For those who don't know you yet, can you please tell us a little bit about you? And then we're going to get into this story to inspire more people to become mini book authors like yourself.
Thank you. And what's funny too about our relationship, Michelle, because you've been along with me on this journey from the get. I mean, the past few years through Clubhouse and the niche and all of the magical stuff. Many times I feel you can tell my story for me better than I can in moments. It's amazing to be here. And yes, I'm G, and I'm the founder and creative consultant for Golden Synergy Touch. And so I have 20 plus years of HR experience. And as of now, I am a fractional HR consultant doing a few different things, but really aligning LinkedIn training with Clifton strengths to amplify value and visibility for career victory. And all of that, my ideal niche client, of course, is HR professionals, leaders in the space, people who really want to do more on LinkedIn and doing the deeper dive discovery of themselves. And that's what I'm here to help them with. So I have the empathy and the passion for it. And I've spent so much time in the space, and that's what led me to the topic we're going to talk about today with the mini book topic.
Just to fast forward, everybody, G has an incredible network, incredible experience. Go to her website, Golden Synergy Touch. Look at all those wow factor logos of where you work. She's worked at some really top places, doing some top work. She was invited to give a 5-minute. Can you imagine doing a speech? You think TEDx is great, 17 or less? No, can you imagine trying to write and nail and just be compelling in 5 minutes? You did it, G, and you knocked it out of the park. I can remember sitting in my backyard, a beautiful evening. You said, Michelle, here's the speech. I want you to watch it. And I watched it, and I immediately texted you. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is phenomenal. I think I watched it twice, G. I'm like, you were born for this. You have such charisma and just all the stuff. So I got so excited, like I usually do, because I love helping women position themselves. And what did I say, G? Let you finish the story. What did I say after that?
You should write a book. You should write a book on this talk. And this is really amazing too, with everything you do, Michelle, and helping just, amplify our shine and it really bringing out the best in all of us. I love your show. I love what you do. And I remember in that moment, I had just a few weeks prior given this 5-minute, it's a TEDx style power talk, if you will, or an Ignite speech. So in 5 minutes, 20 slides on auto rotation. So you have to get up. Disrupt HR is phenomenal. So if you go to disrupthr.co is the website. And yes, I was invited to participate and speak at Tucson's inaugural event. And I was just blown away. It was exciting. I prepared for it and met some incredible people. And then I ended up giving my talk, of course. And then a few weeks later, the video came out. And that was when I sent it to you and said, hey, just wanted you to take a look at this. And, Michelle, to this day, I still have the audio voice notes that you left for me. You gave me the most uplifting feedback. It was mind-blowing. I probably played your reaction to it, I don't know, at least 5 times that night. I was so wowed. And then we started talking very briefly and you said, gee, basically, you might want to consider writing a book. And I thought, and a mini book in the form of a mini book. And that was when you introduced me to Chris Stanley's mini book format.
Actually, I think that night I was so excited. I don't even think I dropped the book thing. I just said, "You were born for this. You're so good, blah, blah, blah." I was just blown away. And I think I was thinking, wow, if I tell her to write a book on top of this, she might go a little nuts on me. So a few days later, I said, we're doing this cohort. Shout out to Jen Lafine. We had our May initial founding cohort and how to write your nonfiction business book draft. It's kind of like the November NaNoWriMo. I can never say that, but it's exactly what it is. And you were one of the founding members. And what did we teach in there? You don't have to have a huge amount of War and Peace to write your business book, right? What did we teach in there? You take it away. And I want to shout out to Chris Stanley. Your mini book model is exactly what we taught and promoted in the cohort. So take it away, G, because you certainly did model after it.
So the cohort, the intention of it was to write the draft, get our thoughts out there. And I took it a step further in that moment, though, because we had a phenomenal group of people in our cohort, but I already had pretty much my idea in mind. And I took those 5 things that I talked about in my Disrupt HR talk and decided to basically blow it up from there and incorporate a couple of other points and make a book out of it. And using that mini book model, which is a more condensed, I like to say digestible version of a book, really more, around what is it, 9,000 to 10,000. Ultimately, it's not the daunting book that people think they need to write. So you think, oh, wow, I want to write a book, but books are 200 pages in length. And that's not really what we talked about. We talked really focusing on the draft, making sure that we were writing for a goal. And I, though, knowing where I wanted to go with it, and I wanted to crank it out pretty quickly, I decided to say, okay, here's my draft. And then from there, I completed the draft, and then I went through the additional steps. And within the couple of months, I was able to finalize it. I edited, finalized, published, and a couple of weeks ago it came out, and I am sitting here now.
And that day or that evening,
Oh my goodness. Oh, yes.
Amazon #1 bestseller. Didn't it hit that? So you really did from idea to concept in like 4 months. And it could actually be even quicker. Not that we want to rush and just, get out something. This is a quality product. So do you have a book idea in you? Do you have an existing speech, some concept, some framework? This is all viable material for a mini book model. We also want to shout out, and I have links to Chris's book you can look at, and also G's speech as inspiration. But G, you're coming today. There's a long bit of your story. You have 3 key concepts for those who want to become a first-time author with a mini book. What are those 3 things to get everyone started and get out there?
We all have a story. Every one of us has a story, right? And everyone has an idea. So the first thing I want to focus on is taking that idea and considering who you're writing toward. And if I can back up for 1 second. So this was not an overnight thing for me wanting to write a book. I've wanted to write a book for years and years and years. I actually started writing a book around this time a year ago. And for years, I stayed stuck on this. I thought, what am I going to do? And I changed and shifted who I was even writing toward. It was messy. And then at the end of last year, I decided, you know what, I'm going to table this for a little bit. And then all of a sudden this came along, and I literally did within months, 4 months, that probably would have taken me otherwise 4 years to do.
Yeah.
So it's having that idea, but really targeting your audience. Know who you want to write for, even if you don't have it all figured out. That's not the point. Just you have that thing inside of you that says, I know I have a book. Who do you want to preach to? Who do you want to share that idea with? Because they're not going to please everybody, and not all of our books are going to. I mean, for example, take it the title. There were a couple of people who came back and just even poo-pooed it. They are not my target audience. The vast majority loved the cover, loved the title, smiled, laughed about it. They got it conceptually because HR has a very negative stigma attached to it in the moment. And that was what I wrote about, is kind of, destigmatizing the myths, if you will.
In the cohort, we did my authority book blueprint about how to position the book and get really foundational, especially a mini book. It's really targeted to a specific problem, a message, and a niche. So that was one thing. You are talking to HR professionals. You are not talking to some other industry. That is your target. So you got gritty and really foundational on who you're here to serve. And I would even suggest, and I'm writing my book now too, and it's been condensed right to where you want to go. Let's get on to number 2, because I know people are really wanting to know, how can we do it just like G did it?
Consider going smaller with the mini book model. So when Michelle came to me just after she'd given me this incredible feedback and suggested, gee, you might want to consider joining the cohort. And hey, here's a mini book model, digestible read. And Chris Stanley was genius with this. And my book, while it doesn't 100% follow the model, I was inspired by it. And that's what I always share. So, and he seems to be pretty proud of me. He's giving me some props too. So I like to think I've done something right with it. But the point of the exercise is to not focus on that 200, 300. What was War and Peace? You said, Michelle?
300,000 words.
300,000 words. That's where I'm going with it. Yes.
Yes. No.
It's not War and Peace. It's literally writing your business book or whatever that topic, that ideas that you have, just in a smaller way. And it still can make a big impact. So that's the one thing I really want people to understand.
And it doesn't have to be one. I know Richard in our cohort, who is in the architectural field, we settled, and I think he's doing a whole series. He had so much to share in his 30-something year career. So that's another thing. You don't have to do one. You make a series. Own Your L.A.N.E is going to be a series of smaller mini books too. So that's my vision too, because I love digestible content so people can read it, learn it, take action. Think of it like a business course, online course that we all want to take, but it's just kind of bloated and we never finish it. We want these people to take action, right? So that's why a mini model is so helpful. We have no attention span, sadly, most of us. So we got number 1, start small. What's number 2? Did we cover number 2 yet?
Get your idea. Target audience was number 1. Start smaller with number 2. But number 3 is just start. Just start
Yes.
writing. So like I said before, and you and I have talked about this, we all have an idea from somewhere, right? So whether it's based on a talk, whether it's based on LinkedIn content you've written and created and repurposed in 80 different ways, expand upon it, boom, you've probably got a book right there. What I really love about this, to your point, and going back to the longer book that I thought I had to write a year ago, I still want to revisit that same book, except with a completely different perspective now, knowing I can make it smaller. But in this case, I was able to get myself out there faster with a book that is a business complement. So this book actually serves a purpose. To say that you're an author, I'm not sure about the audience, but I will tell you the one thing, and I've been vocal about this over the years on LinkedIn, but the one thing that I'm always very vocal about is that I'm not a big titles person. I never needed to have the VP title or the director title, or I never needed the big status. Something didn't align with that. But author, for me, to be able to put that in my headline, it's a completely different feeling than a job title, because job titles come and go, right? But when you can say that you are a creator or an author or whatever that case may be, that's yours for life. That cannot be taken away from you. And so just having that, but you do not go anywhere if you do not get started, period.
Yeah.
The rest of the process, it'll come later, but you have got to put one foot in front of the other to even just make that initial attempt to get started. So that's number 3, literally, like I said, with that talk, with that content, whatever that looks like, there is a way to move forward and get excited too. I guess if I can add a 4th one, be excited about it. If you are de-energized by what you're writing, you are on the wrong path.
And you can do public accountability. And when I announced Own Your L.A.N.E in February 1st, I had big visions this year of doing a lot better. But my problem is I started writing my book and had to deconstruct. It was just like a lot of iterations. So that took me off track as far as getting out there and sharing. I just want to shout out to you because you did a phenomenal job. You get people around your cause, your book. People want to root you on. They also want to be inspired, and hopefully you help them be inspired to write their mini book too. And on your book launch live a couple weeks ago, there were almost 400 comments. People were just rallying you on, including me, which probably had about 50 of the comments. I was just so excited for you that day. And that's the thing with getting out there. So don't hide it, share it. Okay. So I absolutely love that. Let's talk about where this is taking you now, because writing a book, I like to call your book baby. Once you have it, usually it's an evergreen thing. You're not one and done. It is just beginning. You can leverage it into PR, publicity, other offerings. I like to say a book ecosystem. Now, you and I have talked about what this might look like. So can you share with everyone where you see this going?
Well, I love training. I love speaking publicly if and when I have something to share. I am not a fan of just speaking to speak. And we all know those people, but I'm really passionate about empowering people to think above and beyond where they sometimes allow themselves to stay stagnant. And with this book, what's amazing about it is there's 7 takeaways from it. So there's 7 chapters. I actually have 7 books lined up here to remind me of the number of 7. I'm big into odd numbers, but I love the number 7 in this case because there's some very specific intentions with each chapter. And within that, I'm thinking, hey, why not do a training? Why not take each of those and break them apart and do whether it's corporate training? I might decide to expand upon each of those later into articles, into more books. Also, if and when I decide to go back and write, another book, like I said before, I'm going to do so with a lot of this on the brain. So I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And one of the great things about this too is people have been reaching out to me, and sometimes publicly, sometimes in DMs. And I'm amazed by the number of people who tell me, they use the word inspire, and you always want to inspire other people, right? Like you're doing something right if the universe is telling you or telling other people to give you that feedback. And I'm amazed by the number of people who reached out to me and just said, gee, you're doing what I want to do. I want to do this for myself. I haven't known how to get started. How did you do it? And so I want to be able to speak to that more. And again, continue down that path and see where that goes. The biggest thing for me, though, was the sense of accomplishment. In this case, I started something, I finished something, and I am proud of it. And there's so many different layers to this process.
In our cohort, we had presentations on the different publishing avenues you can take, and you chose self-publishing. Can you give us a little perspective on what that looked like?
And it goes back to intention. So let's start there, because everybody who wants to write a book is going to do so with different intentions. So for example, some people are doing it for scholarly purposes. Some people want to write poetry. Some people want to see their books in Barnes Noble. I just wanted to write a book to have as a business compliment. So I kept it as basic as possible. And with that being said, I was very fortunate to have the Gillian Whitney and her husband, Devin, who have gone into Amazon publishing, that Kindle Direct Publishing route, actually put together a bit of a step-by-step process that very nominal in cost. You're not spending thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, we've heard the horror stories of people going out and spending, 20 grand plus on a publishing process that takes them nowhere. It was seamless, fluid. I worked with trusted people, which, by the way, if we can give one more shout to the Gillian Whitney. Gillian is just phenomenal. And she's been my video coach and very good friend for the past few years. And when I learned that she and her husband, Devin, came up with this very methodical step-by-step Amazon self-publishing process, it made best sense for me. Whereas there were other people in the cohort that maybe they were taking a different route for educational purposes and such. So it goes back to your intention and what you want to do with it. I just wanted to get something written and out there to the masses.
I do want to shout out to Jillian to her business called Easy Peasy Books. What she and Devin do is really helpful. And I've used her too for video and live streaming. I just want to shout out to everyone who has writing a book on your radar. You can do it. You have a message to share, an experience like no other. And a mini book is the best way to get it out there. Look at G. In 4 months, she did this. So, G, what's your one takeaway that you haven't covered for those who are on the fence and aspire to do what you did?
Your idea matters. And I kid you not, when you put that out there, going back to setting that intention and letting people know, I kid you not, when I shared, wow, I'm doing this, people just came in droves to say, wow, that's cool. I want that for myself. How did you do this? I'm excited for you. They want to cheer you on. People want to see you succeed. And everyone has a story. You need to start with the basics. Do not let it get too overwhelming. Start with that idea, who you're writing for, what you want to write about. And then, of course, putting pen to paper and having fun with it. If you're not enjoying it, you might not be on the right track. So you know what that means? You just kind of think, I'm going to pump the brakes, no pun intended, with Own Your L.A.N.E. I love the title of your book, by the way, but you know what I mean? The magic's there waiting for you. Just make it happen.
So well said. I would definitely say, because I'm in the thick of finishing my book And this is why I did have so many iterations. Write the book for where you want to go. If it's something you're not interested in or care about, or it's the past, leave it and write to where you want to go. And I realized that writing mine, I was writing to a service offering or how I want to show up in the world and had to match. So make sure that is aligned, because like G says, it'll light you up and it'll help you get it out there faster. It shouldn't be a draggy process. Once you start, it's the easiest part. So G, the shortest time on record that you and I have ever talked. I can't believe we did it. So if you want to write a mini book, you can do it. I swear you can do it. So we're cheering you on in advance. Thank you so much again for being on today's show. What a fantastic 3 lessons plus bonus on how to become a first-time author as a mini book writer. All right, everybody, that's it for today's session. Until next time, keep putting yourself out there. You have a brand to build, a message to share, and people to impact. I'll catch you next week. Take care. That's all for today. In the meantime, are you ready to grow your visibility, personal brand, and thought leadership? Then head on over to michellebgriffin.com for free resources to get started and get going today. And until next time, thanks for listening.